When Ja Morant went down with what I think many people thought might be a season-ending knee injury, everyone, including every pundit, wrote off the Grizzlies. The season might not be over for Ja, but the season is over for Memphis because at that point they were 10 and 11? 9 and 10? 10 and 11, I think. And if they go on that streak or worse, say they go 2 and 10 if he misses 12 games, or they go 3 and 17, you're done. That's night-night. Ja comes back and he's doing his best Derrick Rose impersonation in his prime, or Steph Curry. He's trying to be Batman, probably re-injures himself, gets shut down for the year, and then that's it. I think that's what kind of people thought, because Ja was, at that point, when they were 10 and 11, balling. 24, 6 and 7. Led the team to impressive wins. They had a lot of dumb losses, but their wins were super impressive. They beat the Cavs, they beat the Clippers, they beat the Warriors, they beat the Nuggets, and they beat the Jazz. And he was impressive in ways that we discussed a couple of weeks ago when he got hurt, right? Like, he was co-leading the league in points in the paint. 16 points in the paint per game, tied with Anthony Davis, who is 6'10". Like, it's just like Allen Iverson type fearlessness and bounciness, like a guy who everyone said coming out of college wouldn't be big enough or bouncy enough to do those things and get to the rim in the NBA. So when he went down with that injury, it was just night-night. But here's what people didn't realize. Like, the Grizzlies have been building in one of the more unique ways in the NBA. In a way that's not built specifically for Ja, but to support Ja. Yeah, I mean, it's a unique thing because no other teams really, like, for example, Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard has a team that without him would crumble. And Taylor Jenkins and this franchise knows that Ja can be special, but he can't do everything. And we should have seen this coming because Grizzlies fans knew it, and they talked about it actually preseason, that the Grizzlies are athletic, they are super deadly, super dangerous, and they had a couple of players that were very underrated, low under the radar players that were ready to break out. DeAnthony Melton and Desmond Bane. Two guys that no one expected jack shit from last year, and a lot of NBA fans don't even know their name now. So we talked about them last year on this league as players to watch, but it seemed like only Grizzlies fans were really listening, because I was getting a lot of heat, like, fuck Desmond Bane, he's bulky, he's just a spot-up guy, like, he's just all shoulders, he's like a shorter Dwight Howard, he's not even that good. But, I mean, so this is what the Drew Hill at the Daily Memphisian, what a name of a newspaper, when Memphis traded Grayson Allen to Milwaukee this summer, it was a bet that Melton and Bane would continue to get better in more expanded roles. Literally the reason that they traded away annoying ass, but also highly productive Grayson Allen, who is now balling out in Milwaukee, by the way, is because they wanted to find and free up more touches for Melton and Bane. Like guys that are largely role players. And as good as DeAnthony Melton has been, really Desmond Bane has been electric. Memphis coach Taylor Jenkins was clear from the beginning that even though Bane and Morant complemented each other well, Desmond Bane has been playing spot minutes, taking over now that Ja's not there. And he has been incredible. But he also said, Taylor Jenkins, that their developments were not correlated or tied together. Desmond Bane is his own human being. He's not here to be the outlet pass to Ja. He is his own guy, and he is a star. Desmond Bane was slowly evolving into a player in his own right while Ja was becoming a superstar. And this is exactly what Bane said after game one of this season. Last year, I didn't want nothing to do with the paint. I was strictly a catch-and-shoot guy, and then I would get into transition every once in a while, but coach has given me more freedom, and we've worked tirelessly on this all off-season, so I'm now more comfortable there for sure. I don't know if I can properly articulate how hard it is for a head coach who has Ja Morant to think about ways to develop Desmond Bane. Like it's just, I mean, you've got Ja, and the fact that your mind has any real estate for Desmond Bane and how to develop him and how you see him as a piece of clay, and you're like, man, he's not just that. I think he could be this, and this. I think is like maybe 2 coaches in the NBA are that way. Like, most of them are like, hey, Gary Trent Jr., you sit there and stand in the corner for Dame. Like, it's like fucked up. It's literally like, hey, you be a statue over there. Just be someone who can be basically like a robot. A perfect form catch and shoot guy when Dame has no other option but to do that because they crowd the paint around him. That's crazy. To not just throw all the eggs in the Ja Morant basket, but to make things like a quilt, like in a way to patch people's game seamlessly together and squeeze the most potential out of every other person that they have. But Jenkins didn't just put all the eggs into Ja. Jenkins also worked to develop not just Bane, but D'Anthony Melton and also Jaron Jackson, who's a star. 16-4-1 right now, Jaron Jackson, and Dillon Brooks, who, I mean, most scouts said Dillon Brooks had alligator arms. Dillon Brooks was not applauded or lauded going into the draft. Like, I love him. I think he's gritty. Even me would not have taken him in the first round. He was a second-round player. I think he was taken 44th overall. And people were like, I think that's a reach. And it's not a reach. And now rookie Zaire Williams and even Tyus Jones, who is filling in at Ja at the point, is having a career year as well, 11-4-7. So his thought process was to develop a team and not to develop a superstar and complement him with a bunch of statues around the perimeter and maybe a rim protector. Like, imagine if Portland or Washington would have done this with John Wall and Bradley Beal. Like, hey, we're going to give you a bunch of scrubs. Just make magic for us, Wizards. Like, make magic for us like Wizards. And so when Ja went down with the knee injury, that hard work ended up paying off because those guys got additional minutes and they got additional roles to. It's like Ja can't save you. Like, when it's crunch time, Desmond, it's your time to shine. And that provides you with opportunities to develop confidence and become your own player. And because of that, Grizzlies were 9-10 at that point, and they, since Ja has gone out, they've been 9-1. Only lost 1 game since Ja went down. 9-1. They went from 10th in the West to 4th in the West during that time. That includes wins over Dallas, the Lakers, Eastern powerhouses like Miami and Philly, and even a win against Houston, who at that point was the hottest team in basketball. So do not throw shade at that Houston win. Like, that could have easily been an L. They beat Oklahoma City 152-79. If you need to go to math school to figure that out, that's a 73-point victory. That's an all-time NBA beatdown. Literally the biggest beatdown in NBA history. They're blowing teams out. The Kings by 27. The Heat by 15. The Lakers by 13. The Sixers by 35. Are you serious? Like, how are we not talking about the Memphis Grizzlies and only the Memphis Grizzlies right now? Like, they are fucking lit. And people are finally figuring out that the Grizzlies are more than just Ja Morant. I've been wanting to do this piece for a while, but there's been pressing items. But now, just this week, there are a whole bunch of articles that have come out all basically saying the same thing. The Grizzlies are elite. Here's another headline. How the Grizzlies are playing their best ball without Ja Morant. Another headline. The Grizzlies are grinding more than ever without Ja. 3 reasons why the Memphis Grizzlies are an elite NBA team in 2021. I mean, I hate the 3 reasons. Like, I don't give me this BuzzFeed list. Like, be better, please. Be better. So why? The question is why. First of all, turnovers are way down. Ja's probably his biggest flaw is that he turns the ball over a ton. Almost, I think, a little more than 3 times a game. And because Ja's not on the floor, the Grizzlies haven't been turning the ball over at all. No shade to Ja, but that's just the case. Second, they're clamps right now. They're clamps. Grizzlies' defensive rating in their last 19 games of the in their first 19 games of the season with Ja was dead last. Dead last at 115.1. And the next best or next worst, I guess you could say, wasn't even close. The next closest team was 111.6. That's gross. They were so trash. At that point, I'm thinking to myself, why did you even trade Jonas Valanciunas if you don't give a fuck about defense at all? Like, aren't you supposed to be getting Steven Adams for his defense? And they were dead last. The last 10 games, Grizzlies are now, check this stat out, number 1 in the league with a defensive rating of 99.8. The only team under 100 in that period of time. They're even better right now in that stretch than Golden State, who is by far the best defensive team in basketball. It's insane. Here are 2 more incredible stats than that. Grizzlies are currently number 1 in blocks per game and block percentage, number 1 in steals per game and steals per defensive possession. From worst place to first place in 10 games. And it's not about Ja. Like, a lot of that came because Dillon Brooks came back. Dillon Brooks did not come back into the lineup until Ja was already injured. Dillon Brooks has been grinding. Dillon Brooks is what makes this team go. Offensively, the Grizzlies are averaging 2.1 more points a game without Ja. Like, this is a guy who is number 1 co-leading points in the paint, and this team is still, without Ja, number 1 points in the paint. That's incredible. Here's why I think, though, that this is something that you can rely on moving forward. 1, Jaron Jackson. People didn't think he deserved his contract, $105 million I think he got. They was like, oh, he's got an ugly shot. He's too injured. He's coming off of a meniscus tear. He almost missed, I think, over half of last season. And now this year, he's taking 6.5 threes per game, making almost 40% of them. That's elite. He's running off screens like a wing, shooting off of movement like he's Anthony Davis. He can shoot outside, and because he can shoot outside, then you got defenses that need to close on him, which they can't really even contest because he's 7 feet tall. They've got to close in on him quicker, which that means cross, slash, dunk. And he's able to attack the rim. Why? Because he's like probably one of the best, if not the best, big man that can handle the rock. Memphis is plus 11.9 with him on the floor. He's top 5 in the NBA right now, elite defense-wise, because he's top 5 in the NBA in block rate at 6.5%. So since Ja went down, Jaron Jackson has put up 21-5 with 41% from 3. And when people asked him, like, hey, why are you so good right now? He was like, hey, when you go home, why don't you have yourself some water? It tastes good. I'm a huge water guy. So the reason why Jaron Jackson is so good is he's just been increasing his water levels, I guess. I just need to drink more water, and then maybe I'll be 7 feet tall and shoot 40% from 3. Number 2, Desmond Bane, actually a star. Like, guys don't know who he is. People will be talking about him. SportsCenter. Watch out for the Desmond Bane segment in the next 90 days. Off-ball 3-and-D guard. He slipped to 30 in the draft. Coaches will say, oh, nice kid, big shoulders out of TCU, Horned Frog. He's exploded on both ends of the court. Bane's usage has gone up from 16.1% to 22% this year, even with Ja. Memphis is letting him attack off the dribble more often. He's also a mid-range monster. He's kind of like DeMar DeRozan if DeMar DeRozan actually shot threes and was thicker. He's a thick boy. Like, he is a big kid. If you look up Desmond Bane and you don't know who he is, I mean, he looks like a football player. And he's still shooting 40% from 3 on nearly 7 threes a game. Like, he just stole him. They stole him. Why didn't Portland get him? They stole him. Dillon Brooks, maybe the most underrated player in the league, also somebody who I think would have been great in Portland. He's maybe the best on-ball defender besides Drew Holiday in the NBA. And he's taller than Drew. When he's on the floor, the team has a net rating of 10.4. They have 113 offensive rating and 102 defensive rating. When he's off the court, it's fucking gross. The offensive rating goes from 113 to 109, and their defensive rating goes from 102 to 111, which is a net rating of -2. Gross. Dillon Brooks makes this shit go. Fourthly, this team is deep. Xavier Tillman, super underrated. I barely even spoke about him. Killian Tilly, probably the only Gonzaga guy that you could even, say is contributing right now outside of Sabonis. But, is Sabonis really contributing? I mean, really, is he? If they're not even calling him a star in Indiana? I mean, really, what are we doing? Steven Adams. Steven Adams is actually doing what they said he was supposed to do, veteran presence, toughness that Valanciunas lacked. Valanciunas would give you 20. But do you need 20 when you got Desmond Bane and Xavier Tillman and DeAnthony Melton and Killian Tilly and Ja and Tyus Jones. Like, no, you don't need offense. This team needed defense, and Steven Adams has been crucial for them. Also, we got John Konkar, who's been valuable as well. Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones is maybe one of the most underrated backup point guards in the league. He has the best assist-to-turnover ratio in the NBA for the last 3 years running. This year, he has 119 assists to 21 turnovers. That is disgusting. That's that's a ratio of 6-1. Like, that's some shit that is like, how? How, Sway? How? They're number 2 team in scoring in the paint. I poo-pooed Valanciunas trade, but you know what? Like, Memphis is second in the NBA in points in the paint at 53.6, just behind San Antonio. I thought losing Valanciunas would impact them negatively, but it hasn't. Like, Steven Adams, they're better, but also you've got Jaron Jackson leading in points in the paint as well. And Steven Adams' defensive rating right now is 109 this year, which would have put him in the top 15 in the NBA last year. So why then aren't we talking about him? I don't know. You should be afraid, though. You really should be afraid because Ja is coming back. How do I know Ja is coming back? Because he's speaking in Spanish on Twitter. He's literally saying, I think a couple more days. Un par dias, and then a hourglass emoji and a ninja emoji with 2 swords. He's coming. And before Skip and Shannon are like, next on Undisputed, are the Grizzlies actually better without Ja Moran? Should they pursue a trade with Ja Moran for Ben Simmons? No, they're not better without Ja Moran, but Ja is coming. Ja is coming soon, and that, my friends, should scare everyone because without him, they're a top 4 team in the West and a top 8 team in the league. With him, who knows? Who knows? Maybe when we watched Golden State play Memphis in the play-in last year, we weren't watching 2 teams struggling just to get into the mix. We were watching 2 teams emerge as maybe 2 of the best teams in the entire association. And that's cool. Like, going from bottom to the top in a matter of 12 months, that's something that all sad Orlando Magic, Portland Trail Blazers, and Suns fans can get behind. That's all the time that we have for the Heat Check. We will be back Wednesday morning, early squirrely, with a new episode of the Heat Check. From all of us here at Odyssey and the Heat Check, have a safe holiday. I hope you have time with your family. Don't be mean to your aunts or uncles. Say yes to everything your mom tells you. If she asks you why you're not married yet, say you just haven't found the right person, but you're still looking. Do not forget to download, subscribe, and tell all of your friends. Please follow us on social at This Heat Check and at Trysta Krick on TikTok. We will see you guys after the holidays.